There's a pain almost no one talks about, the silent ache of being misunderstood. You try to show the real you, but it's like speaking into a void. If you've ever felt unseen or alone in a crowded room, this isn't just your struggle, it's everyone's. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll finally see why this ache is universal and how it can become the start of your greatest strength. There are wounds no one talks about. The ache of being misunderstood isn't just a moment of embarrassment or awkward silence. It's a loneliness that echoes in the heart, sometimes for years. You try to explain yourself, but words fall flat. You laugh along, but it's only a cover for the truth that sits in your chest. No one really sees you, not the real you. It's a feeling that quietly follows you from childhood, through every friendship, every love, every risk you take. Maybe it started in your family, the first time you tried to show your true colors and were told you were too much or too sensitive. Maybe it's happened so many times you've stopped even trying. Nietzsche called this the price of individuality. In a world desperate for sameness, anyone who dares to think or feel differently will at some point be cast out, labeled, or ignored. And that's what makes the pain cut so deep. The sense that your uniqueness is the very reason you're alone. What most people never realize is that this ache isn't a flaw. It's a sign you're still alive inside, a sign that your soul hasn't given up on being heard. Most hide it well. We learn to play along, to say what people want to hear, to wear masks and blend in. It's survival, but the ache stays. Sometimes you hear it in the quiet. Sometimes it screams when you risk telling the truth and get nothing but a blank stare in return. You wonder if you should just become what they want, forget your dreams, smooth out the edges that make you difficult. But even as you try, something inside you refuses to die. Nietzsche wrote, "And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. The dance is your own, even if no one else can hear the song." People chase belonging their whole lives. Some change everything about themselves to fit in, hoping that if they hide their weirdness, their struggles, or their deepest hopes, the pain will stop. But it doesn't. You can spend a lifetime trying to be understood, and still feel like a stranger in your own life. That's because the pain of being misunderstood isn't really about other people. It's about what happens when you silence yourself for too long. It's about all the moments you swallow your words, downplay your joy, hide your fears. Every time you pretend, the ache grows stronger. It becomes a quiet rebellion inside you, a reminder that your truth still matters, even if the world ignores it. Nietzsche believed that real freedom comes not from being accepted, but from having the courage to accept yourself. The world's approval is fickle. You can win it today and lose it tomorrow. But the peace that comes from embracing your own voice, even in loneliness, is unbreakable. He saw the pain of being misunderstood not as a curse, but as the start of transformation. If you feel this ache, it means you're still searching for something real. That search is what sets you apart. Here's the truth most never hear. You can't make everyone understand you, and you're not supposed to. The pain you feel isn't there to break you, it's there to wake you up. When you're misunderstood, you have a choice. You can shrink, mold yourself to fit, or you can let the ache push you toward your real self. Every lonely moment is a signal to turn inward, to ask, what do I truly want? Who am I when no one's watching? The world might never fully get you, but the moment you start to get yourself, the ache begins to change. It becomes a source of strength, not shame. It fuels art, love, honesty, and the courage to walk your own path. Nietzsche's life was proof. He was ridiculed, dismissed, misunderstood by almost everyone, until the world finally caught up. He turned his pain into wisdom, his loneliness into clarity. He wrote for the few who would one day understand, and in doing so, he became immortal. The same can be true for you, in your own way. The very ache that makes you doubt is what makes you unique. If you follow it, you'll build a life that feels like your own, even if only a few ever truly see you. Some wounds don't vanish, but they can become your power. The pain of being misunderstood never fully leaves, but it can become the compass that guides you to your real life. You're not here to be like everyone else. You're here to become fully, fiercely yourself, even if that means standing alone. And maybe, just maybe, the moment you stop needing to be understood is the moment you finally are, by the people who truly matter, and most of all, by yourself. If this speaks to the place you've been hiding, share your story in the comments below. And if you want to keep growing with others who feel this too, subscribe now. Sometimes, the deepest connection begins with the courage to say, "This is me," even if you don't understand. There's a reason so few people ever truly show themselves. The world has a way of punishing honesty and rewarding masks. From childhood, you're taught the cost of saying the wrong thing, dreaming too loudly, or feeling too much. You learn the safest path is to go along, say what's expected, and smooth over your sharpest edges. But something in you aches to be real, to speak without rehearsing, to be seen for who you actually are, not just the version that fits in. When you dare to drop the mask, even a little, you notice how quickly others step back. They might laugh, change the subject, or offer empty comfort that makes you feel even more alone. The message is always the same. Don't make it difficult. Don't make us uncomfortable. Over time, you realize that the people who are willing to hear your truth are rare. You begin to cherish them, and you also begin to understand that most people are too busy hiding from themselves to ever truly see you. Nietzsche understood that being real comes with a price. You must be willing to burn in your own flame, he wrote. How could you rise anew if you have not first become ashes? To be truly yourself, you have to risk being left out. But that loneliness isn't a punishment. It's proof you're on the path to something real, a kind of freedom most people will never taste. It's easy to envy those who fit in, who glide through life without a second thought. But fitting in comes with its own kind of suffering, the slow loss of your soul. When you spend your days playing a role, you forget what your real voice sounds like. You forget what moves you, what scares you, what makes you come alive. The outsider's suffering is different. It's quieter, but it's honest. You know when you're not being true, and it hurts. But you also know deep down that your pain is a sign you're still awake. Most people numb themselves until there's nothing left to feel. The misunderstood person still feels everything. That sensitivity, the thing you may have tried to hide or fix, is actually a kind of superpower. It lets you see what others miss, love what others ignore, and create meaning from the cracks in your own heart. Nietzsche believed that the outsider, the misunderstood, was necessary for progress. Only those who refuse to fit in can imagine a world that's different, a world where being yourself isn't a crime. If you've ever been the one who asks the uncomfortable questions or refuses to go along with the crowd, you're already carrying the torch that lights the way for others. There's a moment in every misunderstood person's life when you realize you can't make the world understand you, and that's the moment everything changes. You stop begging for permission. You start listening to your own voice, however shaky it may be. It's scary. It's lonely. But it's also the first time you feel truly alive. The pain of being misunderstood becomes a kind of fuel. Instead of hiding your oddities, you start to honor them. You turn your longing into art, your loneliness into empathy, your weirdness into wisdom. The very traits that made you an outsider become your superpowers. You discover you don't need the world's applause. You need your own approval. The only real failure is to betray yourself in the name of belonging. Nietzsche wrote, "Become who you are." That's not a one-time choice. It's a daily act of courage. Every morning you wake up and decide, "Today I'll tell the truth, even if it's inconvenient. Today I'll feel what I feel, even if no one else understands." Each day you do this, the pain changes. It softens. It transforms from shame to pride. You start to recognize yourself in the mirror, not just a reflection, but a person you respect. The journey to self-acceptance can feel lonely, but it's not a life sentence. The more honest you are about who you are, the more you attract people who are drawn to your realness. These are the ones who hear what you're saying, even when your words come out messy or raw. They don't just tolerate your differences, they celebrate them. Finding these people isn't about luck. It's about the risk you take every time you drop the mask. When you stop pretending, you give others permission to do the same. Your vulnerability becomes a beacon for anyone who's tired of hiding. You may never have a huge crowd cheering you on, but the few who see you clearly will matter more than the many who never really knew you at all. Nietzsche called these rare friendships elective affinities, the chosen bonds that make life worth living. You might not meet them in every season. Sometimes the journey is solitary for a while. But when you do find them, you recognize each other instantly. There's a kind of relief. Someone finally gets it. Someone finally gets you. To be misunderstood is to be alive. But to accept yourself, even when you're misunderstood, is to become unstoppable. You don't have to shout your truth from rooftops. Sometimes the quiet conviction that you are enough is more powerful than all the world's noise. There will always be people who don't get you. There will always be moments when your voice shakes, when your story is met with silence, when your ideas are dismissed or mocked. But the revolution begins the moment you decide their approval is not your standard anymore. If you stay true to yourself, you become unbreakable. The pain of being misunderstood fades into the background, replaced by the deeper satisfaction of living in alignment with your soul. Your life becomes your message, one that will reach the right people, in the right time, in the right way. Most people will spend their lives trying to be understood. A rare few will use that longing to become themselves. You already know which one you're meant to be. The only question left is, will you answer that call, or will you let the ache of being misunderstood silence you for good? What you choose now will echo for years to come, through every relationship, every risk, every time you dare to show up as your true self. And if you keep going, you'll see that the pain of being misunderstood was never meant to destroy you. It was meant to deliver you into a life only you can live. You might spend years searching for the right words, the perfect explanation, the moment when finally someone looks you in the eye and says, "I get it." But for most of us, that moment rarely comes exactly as we imagine. The world is too busy, too noisy, too lost in its own patterns. So you face a crossroads. Keep fighting to be understood by everyone, or step fully into being unapologetically yourself, even if it means walking alone for a while. The truth is, the pain of being misunderstood never disappears entirely. Even the greatest thinkers, people like Nietzsche, spent their lives longing for someone to truly hear them. But there's a hidden gift in that ache. It pushes you toward radical self-acceptance. When you no longer need approval from every voice around you, you discover a deeper freedom. You find that your own validation, your own inner witness, becomes more powerful than anything the world can give or take away. Being misunderstood will hurt. There will be nights when you doubt yourself, days when loneliness presses against your chest like a weight you can't lift. But inside that heaviness, there's a quiet strength forming. Each time you choose to stand in your truth, you get a little braver. You see how much lighter life becomes when you stop carrying everyone else's expectations. You notice little by little that the ache of being misunderstood is less frightening than the emptiness of living a life that isn't yours. Learning to trust your own voice. Trust isn't something you inherit. It's built slowly, through trial and error, through mistakes and risks. Each time you share an idea and it's met with confusion, or show your heart and it's brushed aside, you have a choice. Retreat further into hiding, or stay present with yourself. It's tempting to close up, to promise you'll never risk it again. But every time you stay open, every time you say, "This is me," even if no one understands right now, you train yourself to trust your own voice just a little more. Nietzsche believed that most people would rather be accepted for who they're not than rejected for who they are. He saw this as one of humanity's great tragedies. But he also believed in the rare individual, the one who could stand alone in their truth, and by doing so, light the way for others. The world might not celebrate you for it, at least not at first. But every great change, every real movement, starts with someone daring to be misunderstood and standing firm anyway. Trusting your own voice doesn't mean you'll never feel doubt. Doubt will follow you, sometimes closer than a shadow. But you'll also feel pride. You'll remember the moments you didn't back down, the conversations where you refused to disappear, the dreams you defended even in silence. And those moments, small as they may seem, are the foundation of a life you can actually call your own. Nietzsche taught that life's deepest wounds can become our greatest sources of meaning. The pain of being misunderstood is no exception. When you lean into that discomfort, when you let yourself feel it, study it, even honor it, it becomes a wellspring for creativity, empathy, and purpose. Some of the world's greatest art, music, philosophy, and love have come from people who knew the ache of being unseen and used it to carve out their place in the world. You might write words that only a few people ever understand. You might paint or build or dream things that seem strange to others. That doesn't make your work or your heart any less real. If anything, it makes them more precious. The ones who resonate with your truth, who finally hear your quiet music, will find it because you dared to play it, even if the room was empty at first. Meaning isn't handed to you. It's made by you. The same wound that makes you feel isolated is also the doorway to deeper connection, with yourself and with others who are searching for something real. You may never have a world that understands you perfectly, but you can build a world, even if it's small, where you are truly seen by a handful of kindred spirits and by the person staring back at you in the mirror. It's easy to believe that the ache will last forever, or that you missed your one chance to be seen. But the truth is, every day is another opportunity to step closer to your true self. Every time you choose honesty over approval, every time you refuse to shrink, you're writing a story that's never been told before. You may never escape the pain of being misunderstood completely, but you can let it guide you to places you'd never reach by blending in. You can let it shape your choices, your art, your relationships, your voice. Sometimes, the thing you're most afraid of, the loneliness, the silence, the blank stares, is the very thing that leads you home. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to understand yourself, to become the person you wish someone else would see, to stand as proof that being misunderstood is not a curse, but a strange kind of blessing, the proof that you're living a story only you could live. A new kind of connection. When you're brave enough to be yourself, you invite others to do the same. You show that it's possible to live with the ache, to even thrive because of it. You create space for real connection, not the shallow comfort of being liked, but the deep, lasting bond that comes from being known, even if only by a few. You become a mirror for those who feel invisible, and your story becomes a lifeline for someone who's still too afraid to speak. Nietzsche's lesson isn't that pain will disappear, but that you can carry it without letting it break you. That the ache of being misunderstood is not the end of your journey, but the beginning of your true one. You don't have to hide. You don't have to wait for permission. Your story, in all its messiness and glory, is enough. If you've felt this pain, your journey matters here. Share what you've carried in the comments below, and if you want to keep finding strength and meaning in the hardest places, subscribe and stay with us. Because even if the world never fully understands you, you're not alone here, and you never will be.